A boat buried in the middle of a desert. No water for miles, no logical explanation. What if I told you that archaeologists just uncovered a massive wooden ship over 5,000 years old in a place where it should have never existed? Who built it? How did it get there? And most importantly, was it just a boat or something far more mysterious? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might start questioning everything you thought you knew about ancient history. Let's begin. It started as a routine excavation in the sands of Abydos, Egypt, one of the oldest and most sacred sites in the ancient world. But then, something unexpected. Archaeologists uncovered a massive wooden boat, carefully buried near a royal tomb. This wasn't just any wreckage. This was a perfectly preserved vessel, resting in a place that hadn't seen water for thousands of years. The structure was stunning, 75 feet long, made of massive wooden planks held together without nails. Something incredibly advanced for its time. And here's the real kicker. This wasn't the first boat found in the desert. But before we get to that, let's talk about why the ancient Egyptians were burying boats in the first place. If you're wondering, why would anyone bury a perfectly good boat? Well, welcome to ancient Egypt, where nothing was ever just what it seemed. The Egyptians believed that boats weren't just for sailing rivers. They were for sailing into the afterlife. Pharaohs and high-ranking officials were often buried with full-size boats, meant to carry their souls to the realm of the gods. Think of it as the ultimate VIP transportation, but instead of driving to the next city, you were cruising into eternity. But here's where things get really strange, because this boat might be connected to something much older and much more mysterious. This isn't the first time archaeologists have found ancient boats in the desert. In fact, the oldest known boats in Egypt, called the solar boats, were buried over 4,500 years ago near the Great Pyramid of Giza. One of them, known as Khufu's ship, was discovered in 1954. Disassembled into over 1,200 pieces, carefully buried beside Pharaoh Khufu's tomb. After painstaking restoration, it turned out to be one of the best preserved ancient ships ever found. But here's where things take a weird turn, because some researchers believe these boats weren't just for religious ceremonies. Some believe they were used in real life, potentially even for voyages that we never knew about. Which begs the question, where did the people who built these ships really go? For decades, historians believed that the ancient Egyptians never sailed beyond the Nile. But what if that wasn't true? There's evidence that suggests Egyptians might have sailed to far-off lands, maybe even as far as India or South America. Ancient carvings depict large ships capable of open-sea travel. Some historians even argue that traces of Egyptian influence can be found in cultures halfway across the world. And here's something chilling. Scientists have found traces of tobacco and cocaine inside Egyptian mummies. The only problem? Those plants only grew in the Americas. So how did they get there? Did the Egyptians cross the oceans thousands of years before Columbus? Or is there something we're missing? Before you decide, let's go back to the 5,000-year-old boat in Abydos, because this discovery might change everything. What makes this boat so special? Unlike Khufu's ship, which was found near the pyramids, this new discovery was found hundreds of miles away in Abydos, a city older than the pyramids themselves. Abydos was one of the most sacred places in ancient Egypt, believed to be the burial site of Osiris, the god of the afterlife. This means that the boat might not have been for a pharaoh at all. It could have been for a god. And if that's true, then this boat isn't just an artifact. It's a direct link to one of the most powerful myths in Egyptian history. But before we get too deep into myths, let's talk about something even stranger: the way this boat was built. Here's something that shouldn't be possible. This boat was built using joinery techniques that weren't common for another 1,000 years. Instead of using nails or primitive lashings, the builders crafted intricate wooden planks that fit together like a puzzle, creating a structure strong enough to survive thousands of years under the desert sands. It's almost as if the ancient Egyptians had a level of engineering knowledge that was far ahead of its time. And if that sounds strange, wait until you hear the next theory. Because some people believe that the Egyptians didn't just sail across the world, they They may have been influenced by something not of this world. Okay, hear me out. Ancient Egyptian mythology is full of stories about gods coming down from the sky, bringing knowledge, technology, and wisdom. Some theorists believe these myths weren't just stories. They were records of actual events. The idea that extraterrestrial beings may have influenced early civilizations, teaching them advanced engineering and navigation techniques far ahead of their time. Sounds crazy? Maybe. But even mainstream historians agree. We still don't fully understand how the ancient Egyptians built their monuments, or how they developed such sophisticated shipbuilding techniques. Coincidence? Or is history far more mysterious than we realize? So what do we make of this 5,000-year-old boat in the desert? Was it just a relic of an ancient funeral tradition? Proof that the Egyptians were master sailors? Or could it be a clue to something much bigger, something that challenges everything we think we know about our past? One thing's for sure, the sands of Egypt are still keeping secrets. Which theory do you think is most likely? Let me know in the comments. And if you love uncovering history's strangest mysteries, don't forget to subscribe, because the next big discovery could change everything.